After several fits and starts, the historic summit between the United States and North Korea appears to be back on, slated to begin next week in Singapore. After months of heavy rhetoric from both sides, American President Donald Trump has toned down his criticisms and threats directed at Kim Jong-un, and the North Korean leader, in turn, has removed a couple of his hardline advisors who intelligence officials believe would have fought against any concessions about the future of the hermit nation's nuclear weapons program. What can we expect from the meeting in Singapore? What will be considered success for Mr. Trump? Let's talk about that with John Negroponte, a great American, formerly served as the U.S. Deputy Secretary of State, was the first ever Director of National Intelligence appointed to that position by George W. Bush. He also served as U.S. Ambassador to Iraq, the UN, the Philippines, Mexico, and Honduras. The ambassador joins me from Washington. Mr. Ambassador, what's your assessment of the administration's handling of this whole Korean situation so far?
Well, Mercurial is right. I mean, it's been kind of up and down, but it seems to be in a good place right now, Larry, and looks like the meeting's going to go forward. I think the president's right to try and manage expectations. You can't solve everything overnight, but you could have a meeting that gives us a sense of direction. Where are these talks going to go? And, of course, what we want to see is the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. And I think that the real big question is Kim Jong-un, the leader of North Korea, prepared to give up his nuclear program in exchange for a peace treaty and restoration, an end to the Korean War on that peninsula, and reintegration with the global economy, including trade with the United States, Japan, South Korea, and so forth. It's going to be interesting.
His getting rid of those three apparent hawks in North Korea and going to people more in the middle, is that encouraging?
Well, you know, I don't want to read the tea leaves too much because in politics you never really know. But when you sit back for a minute and think about it, you got to ask yourself, nuclear weapons for what? He's got a capability now of, I think he's got 7 or 8 nuclear weapons. He's got this capacity to create fissionable material. But what's he want to get for that? Does he want to be isolated? Do they want to be the hermit kingdom forever? Or has he, partly through his education in Europe and then watching what's happening in South Korea, which has become a real economic powerhouse, does he say to himself, well, we're missing on something here, we're missing out, and maybe I can trade this nuclear capacity for, the economic and material benefit of my people and my country.
Now, when you go to a summit, you've been around this a long time, how much of it is pre-planned? How much do your advisors and their advisors sit down and say, this will be on the table, this will be on the table, here's what we hope to accomplish?
Well, usually these things are pretty well choreographed. I mean, I went, for example, with Richard Nixon and Henry Kissinger to his summit with Leonid Brezhnev back in 1972, and we'd pretty much choreographed that down to a T. And that's what I've seen happen in other situations. But as you know, Mr. Trump is a real believer in spontaneity and intuition, and I think it's that spontaneity and intuition that has brought him to this particular place. So how scripted it's going to be, I don't know, but that's going to be one of the things. What are we going to get out of this in terms of the direction that these contacts are going to go? Because one thing is for certain, it can't be resolved in one session, and the best we can hope for is some positive thrust, positive sense of direction of where further contacts may go and follow-up teams might negotiate.
Now, we know that Mr. Trump can be off the wall. Anything can happen in a one-on-one with him. We know that Kim Jong-un, what do we know about Kim Jong-un? What do you expect personality-wise from these two?
Well, I mean, these are two quite interesting people, and I don't think widely understood. And as we said, Mr. Trump has a penchant for spontaneity. But I get a sense, even though it's just a hunch of my own, that in fact they might well, get along with each other and hit it off pretty well. And I think Mr. Trump is counting on that. One thing I'm pretty sure of, I feel pretty confident of, is that both of these leaders would like to see these talks succeed. I think they want to accomplish something. I think Mr. Kim Jong-un, for his reasons that we've already discussed, and I think Mr. Trump, in order to establish himself as a statesman and as somebody who can negotiate important deals and important arrangements in the global arena.